We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Happy New Year, everybody. How did 2018 get here so fast? Is it just that I'm getting older and the time just goes so fast? But as Adele is singing, hello, I want to wish you hello, Happy New Year, and welcome you to the Born to Talk radio show. I'm your host, Marsha Wietecha, broadcasting in the studio of LA Talk Live, my hometown of Westchester. And this show is all about conversations and connections and community. And what's your story? And what better way to start my new year with my friend, Anthony Freeman. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate being here.
I appreciate you rejoining me. We had a little glitch last year, and luckily it was with somebody that I knew, and I could say, "Ooh, we had some technical difficulties." So thank you for your patience in coming back and being my first guest of the year. It was a year ago that we saw one another, and but we've known each other quite some time. Whether we saw each other at the Y, which is where we met, or we run into each other in parking lots, right?
All the time.
We've seen a lot of one another.
Yes.
And for those of you that missed our show a year ago, Anthony, I thought maybe you could just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Yes. Hi, I'm Anthony Freeman. I was born and raised in Inglewood, California. I went to school there, played sports in the Inglewood Parks and Recreations. I was there. My parents coached sports there. So I've been passionate about sports all my life. I love my city, of course, born and raised there. I've grown to really develop a lot of talents from being in that city, through sports, through recreations, through mentorship, through coaching. And so now I've fast forwarded to my life as an adult, and I provide those same services within my community. Coaching, mentorship, sports, so on and so forth.
That's great. All right. Now, because I don't remember, so excuse me if it's like, are you kidding? Were you there in the Paul Pierce day, or is he like a whole lot older than you?
No, he's younger, actually.
He's younger than you.
Yes, he's younger. I was between Harold Miner and also Paul Pierce, right in the middle of those two. And I did go to school with Lisa Leslie.
Oh, that's right.
So, yes.
So those are all people that I'm familiar with. And Harold Miner went on to go to, am I right, to USC?
Yes, Harold Miner went to USC and then Miami Heat, and he played for a few other teams in the NBA.
Right. Yeah. And then I'm the minority in the city of Los Angeles, so I'm a Clipper fan. Okay. Although I must say I kind of am enjoying the Lakers right now, I must admit.
Yes.
So Paul Pierce was with us for a bit on the Clippers as well.
Yes, it was great to see him back in the city, being local.
And he's really done a lot for the high school, hasn't he? Hasn't he redone the gym or something?
Yes, he comes and he does various benefits for the city of Inglewood, for sports and recreations, and for Inglewood High School itself.
Right.
Yes,
that's terrific. And of course, everybody knows Lisa Leslie. So,
absolutely.
I'm still a Sparks 21-year season ticket holder.
Well, I mean, there's a lot that is going on in Inglewood. I mean, again, there's Tyra Banks out of Inglewood, who was in the same park with Harold Miner, who was in. Also, there was Suge Knight was in that same park at the same time with Tyra Banks. There was New Edition coming through and playing basketball with some of the guys. I mean, it was a melting pot in Inglewood in the 80s. Specifically at a place called Rogers Park.
Right.
And that's where we all sort of developed our skill sets. Matthew Rushing of Alvin Ailey Dance School, he's there. He was there at that time. So it's Tyra Banks, Lisa Leslie, Harold Miner, Paul Pierce, Mac 10, who's a rapper. There was New Edition coming in there. I mean, it was a melting pot of talent.
And not only that, but people may not realize that's where the Great Western Forum went to initially in the city of Inglewood. I mean, that was a venue. That's where the Sparks started playing. That's where the Lakers played there.
Yes.
And now it's been changed. The whole what am I trying to say? The whole location, venue is the word I was looking for, is now really gone back to being a musical place. And now boy, if you have property in Inglewood, this is the time to be there with the Clippers building a stadium, and
Yes.
is it the Rams? Who's the
Rams, and I
right?
believe the Chargers are coming as
Right.
well.
So, I mean, there's a lot going on in Inglewood right now. And it's really just a few blocks away. It's really was in my backyard where I grew up here in Westchester. So I'm really familiar with Inglewood and sports. But you took your love of sports and that's, I when I would see you at the Y, I knew how dedicated you were to your workout program. And you've sort of taken that and you've built yourself a career around that, haven't you?
Yes, sports has carried me through life, through a few different industries, actually.
Yes. Cycling being one of them, right? I don't think people realize what an accomplished cyclist you are. So I don't mind you bragging on yourself. Go ahead and talk about your BMX experience.
Yeah. So, yes, I started riding bikes early, maybe 5 or whatever. And I started competing in BMX when I was 9, I believe. Went on to win a World Cup title, a national title, and I'm currently in the Hall of Fame for the city of Inglewood for bicycling. So the bike has done a lot for me. Also within that time period, did several commercials, a lot of stunt work and TV. So that was actually great because I didn't see that one coming. That was a
Yes.
surpriser. So at 13, I started doing commercials, like really big national network commercials, and made a lot of money. And that did great things for me. And it was also a challenge as well.
Sure.
Having so much money, so young in the city of Inglewood, it was a challenge. So I had my ups and downs with dealing with that. And so now I'm still here, still racing bikes, still winning races. I'm a master's racer now, so it's a little bit different. I still train, still eat, and I'm diligent about being as fit as possible to
Right.
compete.
Because you do a lot of cycling, don't you? I mean, when you get on the road, I mean, do you go distances? Are you a long distance cycler or speed? I don't know the difference.
I'm considered more speed because I do criteriums. Criteriums are shorter races, maybe 17 to maybe 30 miles, averaging maybe 25 miles per hour, hitting speeds at 40 plus miles per hour multiple times within a race. It's very taxing. So there are other races that might be 100 miles where you may average 28 miles, but you may not take the speed up as high multiple times. So I'm considered a sprinter as far as cycling goes at this point.
Is that a different kind of a bicycle then?
Same bike.
Same type of bike?
Same type of bike. It's just, again, the distance is different because we live in a city. So they can only hold races that are, so far.
Right, right. Now, let's talk about phreology because I think that that's really going to be a lot of the focus that we have today. What is phreology? Is that your business?
Yes, Phreology is a wellness company that I developed with a business partner of mine, Eden Jeffries. Yes, so we wanted to provide academics, fitness, and nutrition to services within the city of Inglewood and expand it outside in other communities.
Terrific.
That was the goal.
And so were these services designed for the youth, for adults, or yes, for both?
All ages.
All ages.
Yes, academics with tutoring and actually food coaching, meal prepping, just educating people all ages so they can get a better idea of their options with eating.
That's terrific. So
Yes.
are you you provide personal training as well then?
So the thing with wellness is wellness encompasses like life in itself. So what I try and do is everything that I can possibly think of that can contribute to you having a healthier lifestyle. So personal training is an aspect of
Sure.
it. So if you need fitness support, then I come in as a personal trainer. If you need nutrition support, then I'll come in as a nutrition consultant. So it depends on what you're looking for. It's wellness. So there are so many things that kind of impact various aspects of our body.
For sure. And the interesting thing is here we are with the beginning of a brand new year. We've all had more than we should have been eating the last few weeks from Thanksgiving forward. We tend to eat more cookies, drink more beer, drink
Yes.
more wine, sit around more, watch the games, whatever. And I think one of the focuses that we're going to talk about today is, some of the tips and suggestions that you have is, whether, I don't know, are you a person that believes in New Year's resolutions?
Not really.
Okay. A lot of us don't because just by setting that standard there, I mean, maybe somebody decides, what, starting today, I'm going to quit smoking.
Yes.
And maybe that's something that, there's a cigarette and I'm not going to smoke it, as opposed to, oh, I'm going to eat healthier starting starting this week, and in reality, that bag of Cheetos looks so good with that Diet Pepsi.
Right.
That's a little bit harder maybe to control than saying I'm not going to smoke and
Right.
stop smoking. So I understand why resolutions sometimes for a lot of us can be a challenge. And I think that, we all want to. There's nobody that says, "Gee, I really choose to be unhealthy.
Right.
I'm going to make a real conscious decision to be unhealthy. I'm going to make a really conscious decision not to exercise. I really do want to be lazy and unfit because I feel so much better." I don't think anybody really decides to live that lifestyle. But for many of us, including myself, I live alone and I eat terribly. And if I wanted to make any kind of a change in this year of 2018, it would be nice if I started making some of those changes, even if it's just not putting saran wrap over that piece of chicken and putting it into the microwave, right?
Yes,
That's a simple change, isn't it? Because we shouldn't be doing that, should we?
No.
No, we shouldn't. It doesn't mean that I need to go out and buy only organic chicken. I mean, I would imagine that you'd say, well, it would be better for you. But something just as simple as that big container from Costco of saran wrap that you pull out and then you take the little zippy thing and then you cover your pizza, cover your chicken, cover your lasagna or whatever it is and stick it in the microwave. That really, I don't think that's a resolution that will be difficult for me personally to give up because it's not hard.
Right.
Now, eating healthy, you could say to me, have you had anything green to eat in the last week? And it's like, do pickles count? I mean,
Right. Yes, pickles is perfect.
how does that count? Now, did you want to ask me how much salt was in that pickle? Yeah, exactly. I know you're looking at me. I know you're not judging me, but
No.
I get that you're not judging me, but I think that maybe like all beginnings, we have the calendar. We've put the 2017 calendar away.
Right.
We've opened up the 2018 calendar.
Yes.
It's a Monday. It's the beginning of the work week for some people. I mean, most people, didn't go to work today, and I'm really happy if you're spending part of this afternoon with me and Anthony. But I think that, eating healthy and exercising, I know I worked at the Y for a long time. I understand the value, not just of physically exercising, but of being in a community of others. When you cycle, that's sort of, you're a one-on-one, you and the bike. But if you're in a Zumba class or you're in some kind of a fitness class or you're swimming in a pool or you're taking a water exercise class, there's some other accountability there because Susie's going to meet you there because she was there yesterday and she expects to see you again tomorrow.
Right.
And I think there's something to be said for just, I know with my friends, we walk every day and we hold each other accountable for doing something like that.
Right.
But for now, I think we'll take a break. We're gonna listen to some of the music that you've selected, and
Yes.
one of them is Billy Ocean, "The Love Zone." I love that song, and I didn't have to download that. I already own that one.
Nice.
That's one I have because I think he's a great performer. So we're gonna take a break. Stay tuned, everybody, and we're gonna hear about how to spend this new year in a healthy way. We'll be right back.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Marsha Wietecha inviting you to join me every Monday, 11 a.m. Pacific, for Marsha's Music Shuffle. My show features music from the 60s and beyond, bringing you artists and songs that touch us in so many ways with lyrics, rhythm, and voices. Put your dancing shoes on and join me every Monday morning, 11 a.m. Pacific, for Marsha's Music Shuffle, exclusively on latalklive.com. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Hi, this is Marsha Wietecha, inviting you to join me every Monday, 1 p.m. Pacific, for Born to Talk, where conversations plus connections equals community. This is the heart of my show each week as my guests share their stories from nonprofits, authors, sports figures, travel experts, and much more. If you have a story to tell, I want to share it. Don't forget to tune in to Born to Talk every Monday, 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com. And you can watch live on Facebook and Twitter. If you missed the live show, check out my website, borntotalkradioshow.com, where you can watch on demand. Born to Talk every Monday, 1 p.m. Pacific, where conversations plus connections equals community. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Welcome back, everybody. Guns N' Roses are welcome me to the jungle. Well, you heard all about my thoughts about New Year's resolutions, but you know what? My guest actually has some thoughts about that too. Maybe it's not New Year's resolutions, but I would like to hear how do you approach the new year? Do you have resolutions?
Yes, I have resolutions, but my resolutions are like daily, sometimes weekly, monthly, seasonally, depending on the sport. Like it may seem a bit complicated, but there's a flow because I've been doing this all my life. So, for example, if next season for me, like I have certain goals I'd like to meet in my cycling career.
Okay.
For sure. Next season I'd like to be a better sprinter, but it's a seasonal thing, not a yearly thing. So that's just how I operate.
When's
Everyone's
the cycling
different.
season?
Seasons, it's a year-round sport.
Oh,
So
okay.
all year long we're doing something.
All right.
And everyone has a set program that they work by. And my season will start more like February.
All right.
So January 1st, here January 1st is not actually the day I'm going to start doing anything different in terms of career, business, health, fitness. It's not going to change, but February it will change for me.
So how do you get ready for you want to improve your sprinting?
Yes.
For your season coming up next month.
Yes.
So how would you go about doing something like that? How do you do that?
Well, figuring out how to generate more power through nutrition, through training, cross training, and actually riding a bike. There are various ways to determine it. I use a power meter, which is reading data, like how my body's functioning in terms of how much wattage I'm putting out, how efficient my pedal strokes are. So there's data from my bike that, lists everything that's going on with me and how I'm functioning. So that's a great way to actually kind of see where you are in terms of your fitness or your sprinting capabilities. So I use that.
Is that like what so many people use with the Fitbits, where they can see how many steps they've taken or how they sleep? Technology wise, your bike is set up to determine this information, or is it something you wear on? Is it something that you wear? How does that? I don't know. What's the technology?
Yeah, so it's the whole bike is electric, so the gears are electric. It's not manual, so you just touch a button and your gears shift. So that's something that's new in technology with cycling. And then we wear heart rate monitors, which, for some, that's a band that goes across the chest. And you have a computer on your bike, which has GPS. So with this computer, there's also sensors linked up to your pedals. So every time you pedal, it can sense how much power you're putting out, how efficient your 360-degree circle is on your pedal stroke. So it tells you all this data about how your body's working, the elements, your speed, like just a lot. There's a lot of information. So that's what I use to kind of gauge where I am in terms of my fitness and performance.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I didn't even know there were bikes that were like that can do that. That's fascinating.
Yes.
So that's a cycling resolution. Are there some other resolutions that you have?
Yes, definitely. I'd like to go back to coaching basketball in the city of Inglewood.
Cool.
I'd like to go back to
boys
coaching.
or girls?
Doesn't matter. I'm open. When I did coach before, I kept a co-ed team. I was one of the only coaches that kept co-ed, and I kept a very diverse team. So if there were Latin kids available to be on my team, I tried to get half Latin and half African American, just so that they can learn, to work with each other and work together, build teams, build structure, because that's needed in the community in the first place. So it's all about community. But so I do want to go back to coaching, and I like a diverse team: girls, boys, blacks, whites, Latins, whatever's available. I want a mixture.
That's so good. Now, I've never heard of co-ed basketball. So at that level. So who would
Yes.
you play? Are you just are they who are they? I mean, who are they playing against? Who is their competition?
Well, of course, it's just a league, and
There
it's
is a
based on
co-ed
age.
league.
No, yes.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
so it's the girls can play with the boys.
All right.
I don't know if there's a female league where the boys can play with the girls. I don't
Okay.
know if that exists. But generally at that age, there's not a lot of girls available to develop a complete league from. So at that point, when I was coaching, at least, the girls were kind of integrated with the boys. So it was
That's
an integrated opportunity.
I didn't know that was a possibility, and I think
Yes.
that's great.
It's great. Yes.
And do they play? If let's say you get that dream position, would you be playing just schools within the Inglewood community, or who would the schools be?
No, this is Parks and Recreation.
Oh, Parks and Recs.
Yes,
I'm so
Parks and Rec.
sorry.
Yes.
I didn't understand it was Parks and Recs.
Yes, for
Oh,
Parks and
that would
Recs.
be really great.
Yes.
So then you could play against Westchester or whoever else would have Parks and Recs
Parks and
teams,
Recs.
right?
Right. Yes.
Okay, so I'm taking this to another place just for a second
Okay.
because one of the guests that I had last year were the Smileys that do the Drew League,
Nice.
and Dino Smiley works in Parks and Recs in Compton. Do you know him?
No, I don't.
Yeah, they're and she works at Dorsey. I mean,
Nice.
they're a very interesting couple, but I know that he works in Parks and Recs, and I that would be really great to be able to go. Which park would you go to? Rogers,
It would be Rogers and Darby.
Darby Park.
Yes.
Do you want to know something? This is another squirrel off the side. Because I grew up in Manchester Square, and you know where that is. It's very close to La Cienega. On the other side of La Cienega is Inglewood.
Right.
The local dances. When I was a teenager, I was in Airport Junior High School. We went to Darby Park for dances. Back in those days, Inglewood is where we went. I mean, it wasn't that far from my house. And so
Right.
it's so interesting that you would mention Darby.
Yes.
Okay. When we talk about wellness, because that's key to you, how do you define what wellness means?
So I look at it as the integrated systems of the human body working together to generate the most optimal human possible. So cardiovascular, digestion, psychological, it's everything, mind, body, and spirit, complete, all in one, and understanding that there are multiple things that exist that could create problems or actually make you healthier. So it's a system of operations going on within our body. So the wellness includes everything. Whereas if I just say fitness, then it's just about exercising and being fit, maybe just working with cardiovascular. But when you say wellness, then there could be some mental things going on, and a lot of people are dealing with mental stress that cause all sort of decisions that we make that impair our body's function. So.
Sure.
Eating is one of those. Drinking, drugs, that's likely coming from the mind first, and having you do things that you feel will help your situation, and you end up hurting yourself. So
How does wellness and relationships combine as a partnership?
relationships. So we start with our bodies in our existence. Like, we have to build a relationship with our bodies. And then we develop relationships with others, the outside world. But it starts with us. So you should have a good relationship with your digestion system. Like, your digestive system and yourself should understand how to make things work well. It starts there. So yeah, true enough, we can get in a relationship with another human being and try and enhance their lives and make our lives beautiful. But I think it starts with ourselves. So relationships it's a general term that applies to so much, but I feel like you start with yourself.
And that is understand. Maybe do you think it needs to be as complicated as biology? I mean, where do you start? I mean, when you want to say you want to start with your own. Let's say I was to come to you and told you, like, I really eat awful.
Okay.
What would you say to me next?
I may ask you, why did you make the decision? Why did you choose that sort of cuisine over the other? Then you'll give me an answer. I may ask, how do you feel after you've consumed that cuisine, then
Mm-hmm.
you'll give me an answer. I may say, just it's a series of questions to find
Sure.
out. I mean, there's over 7 billion people on the planet,
Mm-hmm.
and every single person's different. So it's just not cookie cutter like that. So it's
Right.
more like a flow and an energy and a connection, and then I sort of work it from there.
I guess you'd probably want to know, um, do I have any goals? You know, are you satisfied with how you how you sleep, how you function, how much you weigh, all of those things probably play a part in this, don't you think? And then
Absolutely.
and then are you in favor of Western medicine? Do you believe that we should all be seeing our physicians for a yearly physical and all of those things, where you're looking at your thyroid and all of those other things? What's your thoughts about that?
Well, in these times, yes, if you are looking to deal with Western medicine, you would also want to combine that with homeopathic
Mm-hmm.
pathways or maybe natural medicines and use the two and sort of make a decision. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't go absolutely one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, that's a tough one. I'm not a doctor. I can't
Right.
tell people to not do this
Right.
and not do that. But just my personal thoughts on it would be, just like I said earlier, the body consists of several systems, and each system is a science that can take a person's lifetime to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go see a doctor and you're asking a doctor for help, that doctor is either a general doctor who knows a little bit about a lot of different systems,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to a specialist who knows a lot about maybe one of many systems.
Right.
So generally, that doctor's going to stick to what they know,
Mm-hmm.
or they'll be passing you on to someone else. So for me, I think do your best to try and talk to as many professionals as possible that have specialties within the systems of the human body and get an answer there, because there are so many things that could be a challenge
Right.
that's going on that this doctor just does not know, honestly, like,
Right.
or even a wellness coach or a personal trainer. It's.
What do you think some of the pressures are that people deal with when they look for a wellness routine? Do you think that do you think there's pressure?
We're creatures of habit.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes when things are going to change our habits, uh, we oftentimes naturally and sometimes consciously put up a block because we don't want the change. And again, it could be conscious, it could be subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
Right.
So again, that's another conversation and building a relationship with the client to
Mm-hmm.
understand and try and come to some resolution on how to deal with this. So it's mainly it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. It's
Well,
tough.
I think awareness is clearly something that we need to know. I for myself personally, I know I'm having my physical this month, my annual physical, and I do take medication for thyroid. And I don't know what's happening, because I ask a lot of people the same question. Our weather has been so strange over these last few months. I
Right.
mean, the fires can attribute to the fact that we've been so dry, and that the fires have just been so horrible up
Yes.
and down our coastline and down in Orange County and San Diego. But it's been so warm, and you go outside and it's 75, 80 degrees. You come back in your house and you're freezing. And it's like, how can you be so cold in your house when it's so warm outside? And then I start questioning myself, and I'm thinking, why are you so cold? Or why are you feeling so tired? Is there something that's out of balance? One could say, well, how much fuel have you put in your system? Right? We're
Right.
supposed to put fuel in our tanks, right?
Yes.
You would probably say that we should all be eating 3 meals a day, right?
No,
Or
I wouldn't.
no,
I
you
wouldn't
would
say
not.
that.
Oh boy.
I wouldn't say
Oh,
that at all.
well, I would. Could you explain to me your thoughts about the 3 meal a day versus not that?
Well, again, every human being is different.
Right.
So we'll start with like me, for example. I'm very active. Like some days I am extremely active, burning 4 or 5 thousand calories a day. So sitting trying to eat 3 meals and get down 4,000 calories out of 3 meals likely won't happen. I'm going to need about 7 meals throughout the day that are going to calculate up to about 5,000 calories, because you just can't, well, not, I personally cannot sit and eat that many calories unless it's junk food. And that's
Right.
where you're going to get, like, a high fat diet would give me a lot of calories, but then that's going to be counterproductive to my fitness. So it's everyone's different. A lot of it has to do with your lifestyle, your activities throughout the day. You know, if you're sitting in an environment where you tend to get sleepy or dozy, yeah, you might want to nibble a little bit more than someone who doesn't, because that might trigger your metabolism, get your heart rate up, get you moving. Not eat a lot to where your body gets relaxed and wants to go to sleep, but
Right.
just enough to kind of fuel it, to
balance.
keep it active. So that person may want to nibble throughout the entire day. So it depends. It depends. Everyone's different. You know, some people work situations where they cannot eat while at work. So if they're on this program where they're supposed to eat 5 meals a day, but they can only eat 3 times a day, well, then now we have to tweak your program.
Right.
So every human being is different, you know, and I try and approach it that way.
That's great. So some people will graze. You might just have a bag
Yes.
of carrots and some celery and some hummus or something like that.
Yes.
And it's by your computer, and you might graze.
Yes.
But you probably, you know, I know that I've been tired, and it could just be at the time of the year it is. You know, it's the holidays and we're all really busy, and that could just be that. But I do, you know, I'm sort of on the Western medical side of life. Maybe it's just my age, but you know, certainly I'll have blood work done, and if my thyroid is a little wacky, there could be some explanation for that, and maybe that my doctor will say, I don't want to change your meds, you need to change your diet. You know, I mean, there's always that part to this. Do you think that we all tend to be a little neglectful at some point?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. That.
Yeah. Do I hear this song? Feel It
Sounds like
Still? I love this song. I had never heard of this group.
Oh,
This is a great song.
I love it.
So we're going to come back. We're going to take a short break because there's more questions I wanted. Well, this whole show is about wellness, right?
Yes.
And so we're going to just keep going about this. We're going to talk more about Freeology, your business, and where you're located and how you go about doing that. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back after this quick break.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Marsha Wietecha, inviting you to join me every Monday, 1 p.m. Pacific, for Born to Talk, where conversations plus connections equals community. This is the heart of my show each week as my guests share their stories, from nonprofits, authors, sports figures, travel experts, and much more. If you have a story to tell, I want to share it. Don't forget to tune in to Born to Talk every Monday, 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com. And you can watch live on Facebook and Twitter. If you missed the live show, check out my website, borntotalkradioshow.com, where you can watch on demand. Born to Talk every Monday, 1 p.m. Pacific, where conversations plus connections equals community. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Ain't nobody praying for me. Nobody praying for me. Ain't nobody praying for me.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, you know, we heard this music come up, and what did you do? You immediately smiled. What is it
Yes.
about this song that you like?
I like going from the previous song,
Yes.
the outro, to coming into the intro with Kendrick Lamar. It's just a good flow.
It is a
Yes.
great flow. It
Yes.
really is.
Right.
And it's honestly, it's so much fun spending this time with you because we know each other.
Yes.
And so while I may have some kind of a scripted outline here, sometimes it just ebbs and flows, and it's
Right.
it's organic, a
Organic.
perfect word for us, right?
Yes, it's perfect.
So when we were just finishing this last segment, we were talking about neglect and what do people neglect? And I'd like to hear more about what you think about that.
Yeah, I feel like stress. Stress, tension, pressure. I think those things are affecting many because Like, for example, with stress, and I'm using it in general and universal, the word stress. So, for example, you mentioned about the thyroid. So, based on our diet and how we eat, if we lack in certain vitamins and minerals, certain things that our body needs, well, the thyroid is like a sensor. It's going to trigger the body to consume more or consume less, and it may actually trigger the body to consume too much, and that's where we get like the potential weight gain, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, basically, you're neglecting the needs of your body. So now your thyroid's doing something that it shouldn't be doing, causing all sorts of problems, and now you have to do the necessary steps to relieve that. So stress in general, mental stress, whether it's work, whether it's debt, whether it's your children, whatever you're stressing with, it's the same sort of concept. Like, it's going to trigger the mind to do something to keep things calm. And that might be alcohol for some, that could be overeating of sugar for others. I mean, there are very many variables. Violence in some, like people are very violent when they're stressed, intense. So yeah, neglect is key to the entire problem with wellness. Is we
Mm-hmm.
neglect so many things and it triggers so much.
You made me think of something. We live here in a very, very busy city of Los Angeles. People will come to town. They've been here over the holidays, and they'll say to us, those that don't live here, I don't know how you do it. There's so much traffic. You have to allow an hour to go someplace that should take you 10 minutes to get there. You know, that must be so stressful. How do you plan to get to work on time or wherever it is you're trying to go? You and I both know that is clearly a problem that people have in the city. And you have to find a way to reduce that stress. Otherwise, you're going to get into your job or your appointment or whatever it is you're doing, and it's going to be all over your face. That stress and that anxiety and all of that. So,
Yes.
what would you tell the commuter that has to drive across the city into the valley and they have a long commute?
Whew, boy. Well, I would probably start with what's your go-to to relieve the stress.
Mm-hmm.
And, generally I hear coffee or something sugar. So caffeine and sugar are the two that are, most people's go-to. So I would say find a healthier source of sugar and a healthier source of caffeine. And then we'll take the next step once you get past that.
Now that's really so. I would have, that isn't what I would have thought you would have said. Here's what I was thinking you would have said. Put on some music that you enjoy and calm yourself down. Maybe take that time to listen to a book on tape that's humorous, that reduces your stress. You know, there are a lot of young people. My daughter would be included in this. She works when she's in the car. She will not by diverting her eyes, but she'll take voicemail messages through email, and she may just respond to it. Or a better thing that I think that a lot of people do, especially if they have family that don't live nearby, they become like, you're my ride along on Monday, and you're my ride along on Tuesday, and maybe you're going from Van Nuys to El Segundo, and so it's the perfect time to call your mom and have a conversation with her and just realize that, oh, it's really good to talk to you. I'm not really concentrating on that jerk that just got in front of me or how many cars are in front of me. You just take your time. And I wonder if that sometimes can also relieve some stress in
Yes.
that kind of environment,
Well, I mean, in scenarios like that, depending on, again, everybody's different.
Mm-hmm.
Another great one I like to talk about is what's your purpose in going to the job in the first place. So if that's negative, then, we got to start there. We got to
Oh,
figure out, like,
good
what's your purpose.
idea.
So if you're excited about going in the
Mm-hmm.
traffic, then you're okay, But if you're stressed about where you're going and then you're sitting in stress,
Oh
like,
man.
it's just not a good thing. So there's many ways to deal with this thing. It's many ways.
That's so interesting. So when we talk about what you do in your phreology, Um, let's just use that. Let's use that as a leapfrog here. So, would somebody come to an office where you're sitting? How would you talk with about that subject with me? Let's just say we're talking about stress, and I'm that person that's driving to that job that maybe I really don't like. I've been overlooked for a promotion or whatever it is. Would I be meeting with you face to face somewhere to do that?
Yeah, face to face, online.
Mm-hmm.
There's Skype. There's, phone calls, there's the park, there's the beach, there's a bike ride together, there's, maybe go shoot a basketball. Again, it depends on the person and trying to,
Wow.
figure out where to connect, just where be more open.
You're so
So
so it sounds to me like what you just said. You are very customized.
it's all
If I'm going to
customized.
meet you
Yes.
where you're at.
Right.
Isn't
Right.
that great?
Right.
That's always been your style with this.
Yes.
Oh
Yes. Well,
man.
that's why freeology is freedom to kind of work through your situation. The free is the key word, freedom.
I love that. Well, let's talk about some of the other services that you provide, and you had mentioned something about fitness, and I know if we go to your website, people can see that, and we'll be publishing that. Would you like to tell people how they can find your website?
Yes,
Go right
absolutely.
ahead.
Yes, the
Yeah.
my website is befreeology.com. It's BEFREEOLOGY.com.
Perfect.
Befreeology.com.
Perfect. And we'll make sure that we get that up on the website, because I think
Yes.
honestly I might have had the wrong one. So befreeology.com
Yes.
is really the one that we'd like to use. And I know there's a lot of different tabs within that, and fitness, sustainable fuel, and academic services are part of that. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of those, and maybe
Yes.
what's involved in that?
Yes. The services.
Yes, please.
Yes. So there's, the most popular service I provide is probably personal training.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a term that's been around for a long time. So when people think about getting fit and healthy, they're generally asking for a personal trainer. So yes, we offer personal training services. And then there's nutrition. Food is always a big part of it. So we offer nutrition services. And then for those who want to learn sort of an academic way, we have academic services provided by Eden Jeffries, my partner. She's big on academics. She went to NYU. She went to Marlboro High School.
Oh,
So
local.
she's big on the academics. She's
Mm-hmm.
big. So she provides tutoring. She's also a cook or a chef, and she does meal planning, meal prep. So
Oh, that's nice.
yes.
So would somebody go to your location to get that information, like from her, like for meal planning? Say
Right.
I wanted to make an attempt at meal planning.
Right.
I would contact her, and then I would pay for those services. Is that how that works?
Yes, and then we can provide a location for you, or if you have a location, then yes, we'll come to you and we'll work that service. Yes,
That's terrific. And you work with the youth as well?
absolutely. Yeah, that's the key is the youth.
So what would be some of the things that you would provide? Is it tutoring? What do you provide to the youth?
Yes, tutoring, sports development, high performance training. I work with tennis players, young basketball players, young cyclists. Eden's working with children who are looking to get to college, how to write their essays, and
Oh, no kidding.
yes,
So all
yes,
of that, you're very comprehensive.
yes.
You're almost looking at, and are you devoted mainly to Inglewood, or do you get yourself out of Inglewood?
Oh, it's global.
It is
I like to consider
global.
it global. I mean, we got a .com, so
Well,
it's
there you
global.
much like this. I was just going to say to those of you that are watching this show and listening in another part of the country,
Yes.
you could still take advantage of what it is you offer.
Absolutely. Yeah. We actually, Edie and I took a trip to Canada last year.
Uh-huh.
We were in Canada for 4 weeks. So I was there as a personal trainer and she was there to tutor the children. So it's like they had a homeschool teacher and then
Wow.
they had their personal trainer there with them while they were doing tournaments in Canada. So yeah, we work like that, or we just offer wellness internationally.
That is terrific.
Yes.
So really, if somebody is feeling a little discouraged right now, maybe they really do, maybe they are overweight, maybe they're feeling like their knees and their hips are really hurting them, and maybe they live where it's really cold, blistery cold, and they just don't really know what to do, they really could reach out to you.
Yes.
And whether it's via the phone or Skype or whatever,
Yes.
they could get some programs and some tips and help
Yes.
from you directly.
Right.
I think isn't that the beauty of, well, it's the beauty of my show,
Right.
because, while you're sitting here and you and I are neighbors and your daughter's going to my high school and my kid's high school, and, we have those commonalities.
Right.
The reality is the other commonality is health.
Right.
And it doesn't really matter where you live. If being healthy is important and being well, and you've defined it so well, no pun intended, then it's terrific that you can offer those services regardless
Yes.
of where people live. You know, one of the words that's always been a trigger word for me is balance. And it is just, it is. It's a trigger word for me. I struggle with it. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe we all do. I mean, I would imagine you talked about in the opening of this segment about, you know, making decisions for this coming year. How do you balance? How do you balance your life? You're a dad. You're a trainer. You're a cyclist. You're an athlete. You're all of these things. How do you do it?
It's just running through my head constantly. You know, when things come up, you know, I just have an innate ability to try and problem solve that. I mean, maybe it's coming from the sports background, likely, because that's where challenges began. Is, you know, on the court, on the bike, on the field, and, you know, learning to manage those thoughts or those situations. And so then I just carried over into my life with wellness and dealing with my family, and, you know, as a dad, you know, it's universal for me. So
Do
I
you
deal
write
with it
it
all the
down? Do
same.
you have a routine? Like, do you have a tickler? Do you have a list like, okay, so in this week from Monday through Friday? No, you're
No.
more spontaneous than that.
You could call it spontaneous, yes, but I feel like the body is, it's, again, we're
You
creatures of
hear it.
habit. So the body's going to do its thing naturally. So in the winter, some of us will get a little bit dry. So we'll need more water because our body is fighting the heat. It's not used to it. So believe it or not, we may lose more water in the winter than we do in the summer. So we're getting dehydrated. So, and we don't know this, but that's some of the things that happen during the winter. So my body talks to me. If I feel dry, like right now, my lips feel dry,
Yeah,
I
mine
know I'm
too.
dehydrated. I know my body's fighting these weather changes, and the
Yes.
air quality is pretty poor
Pretty
right now.
poor,
So
yes.
there are many things going on. The more things that are going on, the more the body's going to burn energy. The more energy is burning, the more water you're losing. So yeah, if you're in conditions where it's extreme heat or cold, you're going to lose water. So, you know, those are things that I'd listen to my body and just work from there.
I don't think most of us realized that when it's cold that we can be dehydrated.
Oh,
That's
big
that's
time.
that's really interesting. Along those lines, I'm not suggesting this is a trend, this is a fact, but along the lines of trends and food fads and, you know, supplements and all of those things, where do you stand in some of these fads that you hear about?
I mean, fads work. You just have to find the specific group of people that fad is best for. So again, everybody's different, but yeah, there are some generalizations you can use to kind of put people into categories, yes, and provide a certain diet for that group of people, but that will require blood work at minimum to determine who's going to need what. So with the fad diets, you know, I tell people just be careful with that because it's a generalization. You know, it's likely based on a particular person whose height and weight is the same. So if they say you should eat 10 grams of sugar a day, well, it depends on your body weight. It depends
Right.
on how your body processes sugar. It depends on what your activities are throughout the day. It depends on this, depends on that. There's a laundry list of things of why you may need to do something different than someone else. So that's my only challenge with the fad diet. I mean, I'm sure it works for a lot of people, absolutely. But for the most part, all those they've done research and they research particular groups of people and they just have generalizations about
Right.
everything, how much water you drink. Some people want to be on this gallon of water a day. And I'm like, really, a gallon of water? What are you doing throughout the day? What else are you eating throughout
Right.
the day for you to need a gallon? You know, so there's these things. I mean, some animals go days without water, you know, so they change up their lifestyle. They sit a little bit more, they get in the shade, or they eat more fruits and vegetables. But, you know, it's
That's
it's a
interesting.
lot.
It's, well, there's back to the balance.
Yes.
What do you feel? How do you feel about supplements?
Supplements are very necessary in a society where they put no nutrients into the soil to grow the vegetables and the fruits. So if you're not putting nutrients in the soil, then the vegetables aren't being grown to their most optimal capabilities. The animals are eating the fruits and vegetables, so they're not getting their most optimal nutrition. So yeah, we're all out of whack right now. So I mean, supplements. I mean, it's big business. It's big business. If you can gain control of the nutrients that the human body needs, I feel like that can be a valuable business.
Okay, so let me ask you. It's a Monday afternoon. Do you know what you're having for dinner tonight?
I do not know.
If I was to open your refrigerator, would I see lots of fruits, vegetables, all organic?
you would see a lot of organic. If it's vegetables, likely organic. Fruits, likely organic. And you will see more fruits and vegetables, yes, and grains.
And grains. Where
yes.
do you, and are those organic as well?
Yes. Well, not everything.
Not
I
everything.
do my best. Yes.
Okay. What about your protein? Where do you grab your protein?
It depends. I mean, I'm sponsored by Beachbody through my team. I race for a team called Big Orange with cycling, and we're sponsored by Beachbody. So I do use some Beachbody products here and there.
All right.
Mainly for the performance side of my life.
Okay.
So in terms of getting protein, it comes from a variety of places. Tuna, sardines, peanut butter, chicken. Those are probably the more staple items for me
No
for
eggs?
protein. And eggs, I'm sorry.
Okay,
yes,
eggs.
Eggs are always organic. Eggs
Okay.
are always organic. And I drink soy milk, which is, there have been things to say you shouldn't. I drink soy milk. It's organic. It's another place where I get protein. So, and every now and again, I'll do cow's milk, organic. Another place I get protein. I know they say we shouldn't do dairy, but there's a lot of things we shouldn't do.
Right. So. Do you eat red meat?
Yes, I do eat red meat, but you won't find red meat in my refrigerator.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't cook it.
You won't cook it. You'll go out and eat it?
Yes.
So would you have a steak somewhere?
Yes, absolutely.
You would? Okay.
Yes,
but you're not going to grill one at home?
No, I'm not going to grill one at home.
Okay.
Yeah, not only, but generally fish and chicken is all you'll see in my refrigerator raw. And I rarely buy meat.
Really?
But I do eat it out.
Isn't it nice how the markets today are making this so accessible, from the Whole Foods, which, kind of the upper end, to stores like Sprouts and Trader Joe's and places like that, pardon me, where you can get that kind of, vegetables and meat and all those things, because I know it's a little bit more expensive, but it's so much healthier, right?
It's healthier, but more important for me, and this is speaking from like a community like Inglewood, it's actually exposing the fact that whatever we've been consuming these last few decades in the obesity rate and heart disease and mental stress and all the people that are just going through drama in terms of their health. And then you see a store like Sprouts, you just wonder, like, why do the other stores exist in the first place? Why does this store sell all this stuff and this store is selling this and this is considered healthy and it's totally different than this store? Like that, for me, that's my activism side that questions.
But that's
that.
okay.
So.
I mean, you're seeing, even right here in Westchester, in our little Vons, we're seeing more and more and more organic vegetables, corn and lettuce and raspberries and all of that stuff. You're seeing more and more and more of that,
Well, yeah, and the communities are diversifying. So you're getting, like in Inglewood now, like literally I see Caucasian people all the time. Riding bikes, running, exercising. So yeah, of course, now they're going to have to shut down a lot of the, I call it crap, that's been in that city for the last 20 years, and they have to bring in something that's more sustainable and more healthy. But when they do that, I wish that they would expose the fact that these people have not had the opportunity to eat quality food. So obviously their health is going to be bad. Obviously the kids aren't going to be able to study. They can't sleep. They're stressed out. So I wish that they would bring those stores in and then also, speak on those issues there, because that's my activism side coming out.
But I think that that's great. And do you ever get in front of the student bodies at some of these schools in Inglewood and just speak? Come on, Anthony. Do I need to get you hooked up with somebody?
Some legal people. If you can give me Roman J. Israel.
There you go.
Bring Johnny Cochran back.
There you go.
But I'm concerned about right now.
Well, maybe
support,
you start to the PTA. Maybe you start with the parents before you can get to the kids.
Yes.
Probably that's where you have to start, right?
That is where you need to start.
You really need to start with the parents. Yes. We're going to, believe it or not, we're just about done here. We're going to have to be sticking a fork in us. We're going to take a very quick break. I love this song, Play Hard. It's a terrific song. We're going to take a quick station break, everybody, and then we're going to come back and we're going to wrap this up. I've got somebody to tell you about for next week that you're going to be really interested in knowing about. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Thank you for tuning into LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network, original reality radio, handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.
Okay, well, welcome back because play hard or play hard. Okay, you don't want me to sing, but I like that song a whole lot. It's so interesting, and it's not always planned to happen like this, where there's some kind of thematic things. But my guest next week, I actually met because our Chamber of Commerce office is just literally down the hall here, and this guy's name is Rob DeQ, and Rob, a young man, has a 1-year-old child, married man. He is a Rotarian, so I know him because of the Rotary work that he's done. But he's a triathlete, like you. He and cycling is one of his deals, and he is a member of Race Across America, which you said you are familiar with. He's raised a lot of money for cancer research and a lot of different causes. It's near and dear to his heart. He did a 146-mile run from Badwater Basin to the top of Mount Whitney. And he's just returned from a 500-mile trip with his wife and his son from Spain. He's done cross country riding as well, where they just never stop. It would probably be a very, very interesting show for you to turn into. So Rob will be with me next week.
Great.
But in the time remaining, what's in the horizon for you? I mean, I just gave you, maybe you've already thought about, I got to get to the PTAs and the local schools. Have you done that? I mean, have you tried to do that? And have you reached some closed doors on that opportunity?
Yes,
little?
I mean, I would likely go to the school board first.
I
mean,
see.
just with my thinking, and just try and become a spokesperson for
Wouldn't
health
that
and
be
fitness
great?
within the city.
That would
I'll
be
start there.
that would be so great. That's Mayor Butts, right?
Yes, there's a challenge there though, because
Is that
like
right?
so much of what I would talk about would be against what's going on. So it's,
Oh.
I am actually nervous about, how to approach it, because there needs to be an extreme change in what's being provided. So,
Sure.
it's how to present that where, people are open to it. So
I've got some ideas about that. I mean, there's 2 hospitals in Inglewood. I wonder if any of those hospital directors are in committees or anything having to do. I haven't looked at the Inglewood's, it's political. I understand.
yes, big time.
It is political, but I don't know so much that you're trying to tell people what to do or how they should run the city. But I mean, if you approach it from just a level of awareness, I don't know. It just seems like your message is so valuable and important.
Yes.
I'd like
Well, the awareness, being aware is, again, like we talked about habits earlier.
Sure.
So like your habits are basically sensors, and they are aware of everything going on, and they just may send you in the wrong direction. But again, if you bring about awareness, then you consider people now changing their habits because they've become aware that, oh,
Right.
this hamburger was cooked 6 hours ago and packaged up and driven on the car and brought here, and now my child's going to eat that, and then they have to study for their whatever test,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been on this poor nutrition, their body's not functioning right, all they want to do is eat sugar to stay awake and drink soda to stay awake, and so
It is an issue.
it's big.
It
Oh,
is
it's
big.
huge. It's huge.
But what I'm so encouraged by and what I so admire about you is that your dedication to your community is really important. You're an advocate to your community. I'm an advocate to my community. I think that we both have messages that we want people to know about and share. But like so many of you that are listening in other parts of the country, I think that it's important that you hear this message too. But I think it's just it's your desire to make things better. I admire that. That's why Freeology exists and why
Right.
Eden does what she does and why you do what you do.
Right.
It's admirable, Anthony. And I don't know. Do you have a goal for yourself, like in this first quarter? Like this is what I hope to attain.
Yes, more exposure.
Well, okay. Well,
Yeah,
this is
year's all about exposure.
Well, this is
So,
part of it, and I'm not the only host on this network. And we have a sports show on this network, and we have a health body show on this oh geez, I so bad when I do that. That's what happens when
It's
I'm just
understandable.
thinking on top. But there are other hosts on this network that could talk about your subject and get the exposure that's necessary for our youth, and not just our youth, but frankly your message to me, I'm not a youth, that needs to really consider as I go into this new year, at least adding a little something green to my diet, at least not using that plastic to cover that chicken when it goes into the microwave, you know,
Yes.
and trying to be a little bit more mindful of how I eat. And maybe I won't feel so cold and maybe I won't feel so tired, right?
Right.
You just never know, huh?
Yes. Awareness.
Awareness.
Yes.
Well, every year we should do this. I don't plan on going anywhere. So it's an honor to have you be my first guest of the new year. Really, truly.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
And to all of you, enjoy this first day of 2018 and join me again next week when Rob is here. We've got all kinds of exciting things, all kinds of exciting guests coming up in this year. Maybe I'll talk more about that in the next show. And you can always visit me on my website, which is borntotalkradioshow.com. Tell your friends, follow me on Facebook, and I look forward to having you join me again next week. Until then, smile, do something good for somebody today. See you next week.
Thank you for tuning into LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network, original reality radio, and crafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.